Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, and welcome. I am broadcasting live from beautiful Cape May County, New Jersey, and actually today is not beautiful at all because the weather is absolutely terrible. It really is just awful. Raining and nasty and disgusting. It's just very bad outside. But regardless of that, I'm coming to you via High Plains Planet Talk Radio and SHR Media. Very excited. My guest today, who I'm waiting to call in, haven't heard from him yet, but I did confirm that I'm going to be speaking with him, is Sean, come on, Melanie. SeanWorthington, who is he's a lead scientist at CloudCoin, and he also is the author of a book, Beyond the Coin, The Future of Digital Currency. So I'm very excited that I'm going to be speaking with him today. Hopefully, anyway, that I'm going to be speaking with him today because I haven't heard from him yet. So I'm a little nervous when that happens, but I did confirm earlier today. So that should be happening. that should totally be happening. But besides that, there's lots going on in the news today. Goodness gracious. So apparently, here's the thing. President Trump made some comments. They're working on it. I have to talk about like the primary thing in the news today. It is that they're working on this deal, and it's supposed to be going really well, et cetera, et cetera. But the only problem is that the message got a little bit stepped on, because President Trump made some comments and somebody ratted him out, basically, which is really, a shame. Good afternoon. Hi, Facey people. I think I'm not sure if I made this public or not. I was supposed to make this post public and I made it private by accident. Those of you who are in SHR Media Land and High Plains Planet Talk Radio Land, I'm talking about my Facebook live post. It looks like it's not public, which is very, very silly on my part. But anyway, I'll make it. I'll take care of it later. But that being said, apparently there was some disparaging comment made about this country, about some of the African countries, and about Haitian and about Haiti. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because they seem to have been making some good progress, and then now, it's like that they're not. Now it's like that's all kind of gone to pot now, which it shouldn't be the case, but that's kind of the way some of these things tend to work, unfortunately. So I don't know what's going to happen there. They also have to get a budget done by this time next week. By next Friday, they're supposed to have a budget done. And if they don't, that means that the government's going to shut down, and that's definitely not a good look either. So I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna shake out for any of us. That being said, there are other things in the news besides DACA. And here, listen. Hey, Doug. Hey, Levon. Hey, Jeffrey. Jeffrey Booker, how are you? I was just thinking about you today, Jeff. I haven't heard from you in a minute. I was gonna send out a search crew. But we have a lot to get done, and I love what President Trump is doing policy-wise, but we know how this ends, right? It ends the same way every single time something like this happens. It ends the same way, which is his message ends up getting stepped on. And that's something that we don't need. And I'm not talking, my conservative friends are probably going to be like, you're talking bad about President Trump, but I'm not. I'm just saying, like, dude, you're doing great things. Stop stepping on your message. Like you're killing us, stepping on your message. And listen, not for nothing. I mean, Dick Durbin. I feel like that's some violation of like the political bro code, right? Like I'm pretty sure that he wasn't supposed to be saying that either, like inside of a private meeting. But on the flip side, President Trump probably thought everything was good and that he was comfortable or whatever. I don't know. I'm disappointed that it happened because we were like, seemed like we were starting to really get somewhere. The Dow is on its way up to 26,000. It broke 25,000. The mainstream media hardly talked about it. Companies are giving bonuses left and right. Fantastic. But of course, the media is not talking about it. But all the media is talking about is this comment and saying he's a racist, and we know that that's where it's going to go. Hello, Scott. We know that that's where it's going to go. I don't know who sang the song. Bonnie Raitt. Let's give him something to talk about. How about we not? Give him something to talk about, please. Can we just not leave anything on the table to talk about, but all the good stuff? I mean, I get it. People are not leaving. People are not leaving their countries to come here because they're awesome. We all know this. But, dude, okay, you can't. You can't. You just can't. And then it gets back to instead of talking about all the positive things in social media, people like me, not for nothing, I'm the first vice president of the Federation of Republican Women here in New Jersey. I'd like to be talking about policy, but I'm not on my social media. I'm talking about this. And it's just more work for us when you do this, dude. Just stop. We're trying to help. But you gotta. No politician there is your friend, President Trump. Nobody. So you gotta pretend you're talking to your priest. Just use the same kind of language as if you were talking to one of your grandkids' kindergarten classes. use that approach. He's making me tired. I'm just saying, he's making me tired. And I know, Doug, they crucified Reagan too, but I thought they waited until he got out of office to do that. And you're right, Scott. Miserable crowds do love negativity. Misery loves company. They're super duper ticked. Because they lost the election, and they're not going to let it go. That's pretty clear. But anyhow, you're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your one and only business diva, Melanie Collette, and we will be back in a moment.
We recently witnessed the Dow surpassing the 25,000 mark. Numerous major corporations are expanding operations, and Donald Trump's tax cuts are coming to fruition. But killjoy Democrats want to derail the Trump tax cut train. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, Mr. I want to tax everything that moves and breathes, New York Governor Cuomo said that his overtaxed, in-debt Commonwealth of New York is going to sue over the new tax law, which he said would harm his state through its limit on state and local tax deductions. The new tax law caps the state local tax SALT deductions at $10,000, which has been a particular concern for elected officials in New York and other high-tax states. And that's where the problem is, high-tax states. Mr. Cuomo, long before Donald Trump ran for office, New York was for decades overtaxing both residents and businesses. Your government and those before you accumulated a huge debt of over $62 billion. Why not do the right thing, sir, and lower your state tax and spending madness? You purposely ignore the successes of Florida and Texas, which have both lower taxes and budget surpluses. Maybe you should be sued for overtaxation, inhibiting regulations, and asinine spending levels. I'm Ron Edwards.
Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses since 2008. So far this year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to businessbuyeradvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses that you can watch for free. That's businessbuyeradvantage.com.
Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit TaxMama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's TaxMama.com.
And welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. And I'm having trouble getting in touch with my guest, but I'm going to give it another try here. See if I can... Oh, wait a minute. He's supposed to be calling me. I'm getting word from his publicist that he is going to be calling me. So I'm gonna be patient here and see if I can get him. And actually, it looked like he was calling. I apologize. And this is radio. Dead air is a bad thing. It looked like he was calling, but it wasn't coming through. So I'm going to be proactive here and call him. Hi, Sean. This is Melanie from Money Talk with Melanie. You are live on the air here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio.
Fantastic.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. Sorry for the delay.
Yeah, no problem. I know I couldn't for some reason I could not make that work. I don't know if there was some kind of hiccup or lull. We are having a kind of a storm where I am, so that could be interrupting the situation here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but welcome to the show. I'm very glad to have you. Cryptocurrency, as you might imagine, is one of the most popular topics here lately on my show. So I'm excited to have you here. Now, I did not, because I was so concerned about connectivity, I did not give you a proper introduction as far as your bio is concerned. Is there anything that you'd like the audience to know? There's plenty here.
Sure. I'll just say real quick that I'm a computer science instructor and been teaching computer science for about 7 years now. I have written a book called Beyond Bitcoin, the Future of Digital Currency, and I also have a patent pending on my own digital currency. It's called CloudCoin. I'm working on a PhD in information systems. That's my bio.
Excellent. I don't know what it is about the publicist folks around us who listen. I love my publicist the pieces. But here's the thing: by the time you start doing radio, your bio is super long, right?
Yes. Yeah.
that's the problem. By the time you get to the point where people are asking you to talk about stuff, that's because you've done a lot of stuff, right?
That's exactly it. Yes.
So your bio ends up being super long. But anyway, I love it. Thank you so much for being here. I have so many questions. You're about the fifth, I'm thinking about the fifth cryptocurrency expert that I've had on my show. Yeah, so I'm really, and I don't even know where to start. Let's start in the beginning. Let's talk a little bit about the difference between, for some of my audience who have not, who are not familiar with cryptocurrency at all, let's give the quick and dirty on what cryptocurrency is. Let's do that.
Yeah, if we just take a little step back, and that is, what is money? Because that's a big topic of conversation. We've got some people that have Nobel Prizes in economics that are saying that Bitcoin's not money. And we have actually the past chairman of the Federal Reserve said that gold is not money. So there's some arguments about what money is. And what we've been able to figure out is that monetary systems are basically databases. And the money plays the role of data. And so we write data on a lot of things. We can write it on gold. We can write it on silver coins. We can write it on paper money. We can write it on hard drives in the case of Bitcoin. And we can also write it in JPEGs with cloud coins. And we're now even writing it into mind. So we're finding out that money is in fact data. And the problem with digital money, any kind of digital money, is that it's easy to copy and paste it. It's easy to manipulate it and change it. It's easy to delete it. And Bitcoin was really the first currency to be able to figure out how to make it so that the money had physical integrity and cannot be counterfeited.
Interesting. Okay. And that's a good point. Now, money used to be something else, right? Before it was really data.
Yeah, there's a lot of terms that economists use to describe money. And I can look at those terms and I can say, okay, this relates to databases in this way. I can see how that they're trying to use database terms, but they're not quite doing it right.
Well, that is for sure, that they're not doing it right. They're not using. So because cryptocurrency, and it's not really emerging. I mean, it was emerging 10 years ago, right? Now it's kind of here.
You know, people have tried to do digital currencies for a long time. One of the most successful ones was called e-gold in California. And what happened is that a lot of people put gold into a vault and they issued some digital money based on that. But then the state of California just kicked in the door and went to the vault and took all the gold and closed the whole thing down. And that destroyed that digital currency. It was doing billions of dollars to the business. So we have to have a digital currency that cannot be just destroyed by some government or some bureaucracy. And the Bitcoin was the first one to solve that. They did that by creating a database which you can write to and you can read from, but you can't delete anything, you can't change it. And that's the blockchain. And that's what allows us to track all the money so we know who has it, and there's no counterfeits and there's no forgery. So it was the first one.
Indeed. Now the blockchain is different from what you all are doing, unless I'm understanding that incorrectly. It's different from what CloudCoin is doing.
Absolutely. So we have a new technology that is only used with CloudCoin. And instead of trying to track every transaction that ever happens and follow the money from transaction to transaction, what we do is we have a counterfeit detection system. And so we've got all of these detection agents all over the world, and every single one of our cloud coins has a bunch of like passports in them. And when you give it to somebody, you check all the passports with all these different countries and nationalities to make sure that they are real. And that's how we trade. We just check to see if the money's real or not.
Interesting. And so now with the blockchain, there's a possibility, and nobody really talks about this. I had a cybersecurity expert that talked about it briefly, but the blockchain aren't there possible ends to the blockchain? Aren't there possibilities that the blockchain could break?
Absolutely. And so there's a lot of them, and the blockchain just uses a very insecure system to begin with. But basically it's not scalable, which means the more people that use it, the slower it gets. You could have a hacker that tries to go in and just make it slow by spamming transactions, which will slow the whole system down. And then you also have a situation in which it's not quantum safe. And all of the information is available to the public, and anybody with a quantum computer that has it set up right, this will be within the next 10 years, can then crack that blockchain. There's also a consensus problem in which if you have a majority of the servers, suppose like the Chinese government decided to put out 6,000 blockchain servers, they could actually take over the money. So there's a lot of different security threats, and I'm just scratching the surface there.
That sounds like a lot of security threats for sure. Now, how does your cloud coin which you say is actually not a cryptocurrency, it's a cloud currency, right?
That's right.
And so how does the cloud currency contrast with the cryptocurrency?
So first of all, we don't have any mining that goes on because mining is actually unnecessary and it's counterfeiting. So the way that Bitcoin runs their network is that they allow their miners, so-called miners, to take guesses at trying to guess a number. And if they guess the right number, they get to have a Bitcoin. This is very expensive in electricity, and a lot of expensive in space and heat that's being wasted. With CloudCoin, we have a set amount of cloud coins, and they're not produced. We have the equivalent of miners, but they mine for lost cloud coins. And so they get paid whenever they recover a cloud coin that has been permanently lost. With Bitcoin, there's been 4 million Bitcoins or more that have been permanently lost. And that's a big problem because if people lose all of their money, there's no sense in using the system because it's supposed to track who gets what.
Okay, now you're going to have to backtrack for me just a little bit. Just a little bit on the mining, because I had somebody inquire about that maybe 2 weeks ago, and I said I was going to ask you about that. So explain what Bitcoin mining is, like what the purpose is of the Bitcoin mining.
So one of the problems or one of the issues is how do you fairly give out new money? Because you've got to create some money and then you've got to give it to people. And what's the best way to do that? And the way the blockchain solves that issue is by saying if you put up a server and your server handles all of these transactions, your server will then get to guess to see what the magic number is. And to begin with, the magic number was a small number and you could guess it quite simply. But as time goes by, the number gets bigger and bigger and harder to guess. And so they basically pay for their infrastructure by allowing people to guess and try to get these to figure out what the number is so that they can create new blockchains and Bitcoins and pay for the system.
So is this a mathematical calculation that they're doing? How are they, like, what are the methods that they're using to do that?
Well, it's really quite stupid, I think, because there are now a couple currencies that do not have any mining, and mining is absolutely unnecessary. But the idea is that you think of money as in terms of gold, and gold requires mining, so you want to have some way to show proof of work, to show that you did some work and so that you get some money. And in CloudCoin, we want to show proof of work too, because the whole economy is based on basically if you get money, it's because you've done some work, and you should only have money if you did work. But what they're doing is not really work. What they're doing is just guessing numbers, and it's not really productive work. So I don't know if that answers your question. They're just literally guessing numbers, spending lots of time trying to guess them as fast as they can.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm just like envisioning like a bunch of guys or statisticians or whomever in a room, literally. It's almost like futures trading, it sounds like.
Well, I would say it's a way of trying to make Bitcoin scarce. And because they're guessing, any one of the miners could win. And so it's all completely random. There's no such thing as doing good mining or bad mining. If you just do mining and you do enough of it, it's a number game, you're going to get some Bitcoins sometime.
Okay.
And so it's a weird system.
And
it seems to work.
And does the mining affect the overall, and I imagine it does, affect the overall price of the Bitcoin, the overall value of like everyone's Bitcoin account? Because the way it's been explained to me is that there's only a certain amount of Bitcoin available.
Yeah, so the more scarce of the resource generally goes up in value.
Right.
And just to contrast, CloudCoin has a set amount and it never goes up unless we do something called doubling, in which everybody's money doubles. But they want to reduce the amount of supply. They want to add some more, and this is the way that they've come up with figuring out how to get new Bitcoins into the system, and it's through the miners guessing the numbers.
Okay, that is a little bit scarier to me.
Well, it's a big giant waste of electricity.
Right.
And it's very inefficient. And so it's so inefficient. If you look at CloudCoin, we are something like 10,000 times more efficient. And that allows us to, it really gives us an economic advantage because we need to economize as human beings. Every animal needs to economize. And the Bitcoin is not economically sound when compared to other currencies.
Now, see, it's funny because Bitcoin is like the top currency. Somebody in the chat, I'm streaming live on Facebook, just so you know, and they were like, somebody was like, okay, this conversation's over my head, but it's very interesting. Well, go ahead.
There is a logical error, and I could tell you the story about the island of Yap just to illustrate it. But there was this island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, which was discovered by Europeans in the 1800s. When they found this island, they found in the village square that there was something a lot like the public ledger, where they had all these raised platforms, one for each family. And they had these big stone coins that they would roll from one platform to another platform whenever they had a trade. And so they could track everybody's money by just looking at the public square and where these big stone coins were. And so the Europeans were able to figure out where they made the coins, and they went and made a bunch of them. But they were able to make them with iron tools, which made them much faster at making them. And so they show up to the island, and they've got all this stone money. They said they want to buy an island. And the islanders said, sure, we'll take your stone money. And they sold them an island. And these Europeans then went back and decided to get some more coins. And they made some, and they came back and they said, please build us houses, please build us furniture, give us servants, make us roads and paths. And the islanders quit their farming, they quit their animal raising, and they went to cash in. And then a few months later, there was no food, and they all starved. They started getting starved. And the Europeans had to leave because basically what had happened is there was a fraud going on. And so money is very important, and its job is to try to keep track of who did what value. And if somebody comes in and counterfeits it, it's very detrimental to our society.
It certainly is. And now, is that the case with all cryptocurrency or just with Bitcoin?
Well, with Bitcoin, what happens is that people see that people are making money. And whenever you see somebody making money, you're like, I want to do that. Because you want to, everybody wants to be rewarded and fill that gap. But what happens is there's a logical trap that's caused by the Federal Reserve, actually. The Federal Reserve comes and introduces a whole bunch of dollars into the system. People borrow against their houses.
Right.
They go out and they buy Bitcoin with credit cards and with home equity loans, and it causes the price to go up, and people see that, and they go in and they make this logical error that Bitcoin is more valuable than it is. They start piling into it, and that's what we call a bubble. But it's really like a logical loop, and sooner or later it can't sustain itself, and it drops down. Now what we have is something called a bull trap, where everybody says, oh, well, maybe it will go back up. That's what we're in now. We see a big bull trap with Bitcoin. But the people that are investing it, they're just trying to make money. They don't know anything about the fundamental values of Bitcoin, and they've created a bubble, and now it's popped.
Now, the scary thing, now you scared me a little bit, because when you said that people are, mortgaging their homes to put money in Bitcoin and doing, the kind of the last three things that you said were like major violations of Personal Finance 101. Like, which is don't borrow money to invest. Like, just don't. Like that is a big no-no. And
absolutely, that's what causes all the bubbles in the stock market crashes and everything. It's a bad thing.
And I just want to be clear to my audience, like that's a big no-no no matter what you're investing in. Like that is not something you do. And particularly when you're talking about borrowing against your assets like a home.
Mm-hmm.
So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you see your neighbor making $1 billion, you want to do the same thing. But what you don't realize is that he was, lucky enough to find a greater fool to sell it to, and you don't want to be the greater fool that is there when the bubble bursts, and unfortunately, it is bursting right now.
Really, you think it's bursting right now? I didn't check the financial news at all today. There was kind of a lot of stuff going on in politics, but I did not hear anything major out of the cryptocurrency sector today.
Well, of course,
I didn't check my account either.
It's really hard to tell a bubble until you've actually gone through it. And so what we saw is the price shoot up astronomically, hyperbolic, over the last couple of months, and then it stopped going up, and then it went down, and it's kind of bouncing up and down. This is typical with a bubble. People are trying to figure out whether the bubble is real or not. But then what happens is you get these what's called a bull trap. You get people that are still buying into it, thinking that it's going to go up, but then all of a sudden it goes down. And so we haven't had the big giant drop that I predict, but I think it's going to happen within the next month, certainly.
And now
we'll see.
And see, I think most, at least people who believe in cryptocurrency will tell you that that's the exact time to buy, right? Like that's usually the advice. It's like whenever you have a big dip, like don't freak out. That's the time to buy more.
That's right.
Right.
But they might. But that strategy, if it's what's called a bull trap, that's called the bull trap, where you think that everything is still good and it's the time to buy, and so you pile into it again. Then all of a sudden it turns out it really wasn't the time to buy. What it really was a bubble, and the bubble does collapse. And when it does, it's going to take you down along with it. Oh,
goodness gracious. That, okay. All right, I'm trying to breathe. Now, I'm doing some very minor investing because I want to be able to tell my audience about it. And sometimes the best way to do it is to put both feet in. Now, and like I've told, like a couple of experts have told my audience, and as I have said to my audience many times, you have to approach Bitcoin investing or crypto investing just like you would approach any other type of investing. You never want to borrow in order to invest. Don't invest money that you can't afford to lose, which who can afford to necessarily, but that it wouldn't bother you, put it that way, all too much if you lost it. So, you have to be like uber careful and diversify is really important. So, right now I'm still up despite all the dips. I've only been in for like 2 months, but still it is. And somebody just asked if it's a retroactive stock, and I wouldn't describe it as a retroactive stock. That's not, to me, the closest thing. I would say it's closer to futures trading than.
So I don't know too much about investments, unfortunately, because I'm into the computer science behind it.
Right.
But it is supposed to be a money. Money is a type of asset, but it's not really an investment in the typical sense of investment. Right. Certainly, there's a lot of potential there. And what we're seeing now, I think, is that Bitcoin is not going to be the currency of the future. It just can't handle the load. And so everybody's turning to other currencies, other digital currencies, to see if those might be the ones of the future. I think that all the stuff that's based on a blockchain is not going to be the future. But at the end of all of this fallout, because when the automobile was invented, it was 1,200 companies making them, and then within about 10 years, it shrunk down to 3 or 4.
Sure.
So I think that we're going to see the same thing, where there's going to be a big fallout, and the weak ones are going to be washed away.
Because I want to say there's like 1,200 cryptocurrencies, something like that. There's a ton.
That's right.
Yeah. So, there are a top few, but there's about 1,200. I had no idea until I had an expert on a week or so ago who was telling me that there were that many. I had no idea. He said, actually, there's thousands, but there's kind of like a top 1,200. We're up against a break. When we get back, I want to talk about the security of the cloud coin versus the cryptocurrency.
Sure.
If you would. Okay, you're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. We'll be back in a few minutes. My guest today is lead scientist and computer science instructor, also author of the book Beyond Bitcoin, The Future of Digital Currency. He is our guest today. We're talking to him about cloud coin, about digital currency, about cryptocurrency. A very interesting conversation on the other side of the break. We're going to talk to him about the security aspects. Again, you're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Welcome welcome to this week's Money Talk with Melanie with your business diva, Melanie Collette. This week we talk 3 first steps to start the new year off right. Step 1, start tracking your net worth. Your net worth is the difference between your assets and debt. Paying attention to your net worth lets you know whether you should be cutting back or if you can splurge. Step 2, create a financial calendar. Set appointment reminders for things like remembering to pay your quarterly taxes or periodically pulling a credit report. Finally, step 3, check your interest rates. Checking your interest rates is a great way to determine things like which debts you should pay off first or where you should open a savings account. And that's all for this week's Money Talk Minute with your business diva, Melanie Collette. Please remember to listen to Money Talk with Melanie Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central, or 2 p.m. Pacific Time on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I'm inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it. Okay, and we're back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers.
There we go. I apologize. Sometimes that happens. I at the last minute decided, hey, let me play my new promo, and I got it from somewhere else, and I forgot that it was on repeat. I apologize, but anyway, I hope you guys like it. That's actually one of 2 new promos for my show. I'm really excited about it, and my numbers have been wild, really, really good. And so, thank you guys for watching and for listening. I also want to thank my sponsors, the tax mama, Eva Rosenberg. Now that we have a new tax law, I am sure you are going to want to go to her page, taxmama.com, and ask a free tax question. She is an expert in all things taxes. She's also got 2 fantastic books, which are award-winning, Small Business Taxes Made Easy, and another book called Deduct Everything. I also want to thank David Barnett at businessbuyeradvantage.com. Hey, with all this money that's coming back and all these companies that are offering bonuses, you might want to consider investing in a franchise. If you are thinking about it, go to businessbuyeradvantage.com. He's got tons of instructional videos there, and he'll give you all kinds of fantastic guidance on how to do that. It's not as difficult or as expensive as it used to be. So that's businessbuyeradvantage.com. I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. Anywho, we are talking to SeanWorthington of CloudCoin Global, and he's also a lead scientist and information technology instructor. Is that correct? Okay, and we're talking to him about CloudCoin and cryptocurrency. And before we went on to the break, I asked you about the security issues that are associated with cryptocurrency versus CloudCoin, which you've touched on a few of them. Like cryptocurrency, can that be hacked?
Well, right now, scientifically, the only way that it could be hacked is theoretically by a quantum computer. And quantum computers have just come on the market, so you can buy them. And it's possible that our government has warehouses full of them, or maybe China has warehouses full of them, and that they are able to crack these things theoretically. But otherwise, without quantum computers, scientifically, they are uncrackable.
Well, let's hope so. Now, I have heard different. Well, let me put it this way. Other experts have told me that they already have been hacked. And listen,
no, I didn't say unhackable, because actually they get stolen all the time.
Right.
And there's a big, huge risk, because you might have $4 million worth of bitcoins, and it's all riding on one private key. And if that private key gets compromised, and what can happen is that the hackers will actually install print screen software, so they can look at the code and see what you're doing, and they can take it and steal millions of dollars worth of cloud coins. I'm sorry, of bitcoins. That is a big problem.
Right, that's a huge problem.
Yeah, we've been actually working on how to stop hacking, and we have some technologies that help in that. Basically, with you have something called systematic risk, and you have something called unsystematic risk. And the difference is that one you can mitigate, and the other you can't. And the problem with the blockchain is you've got this one private key, and you might have it on your computer, and you have a risk of being hacked. But if you copy that to make a backup so you can protect yourself against loss, well, now you just doubled your risk of being hacked.
Absolutely.
If you put it up on a mail server or something, so that you've got it up on the cloud, well, now you've tripled your risk. And so every time that you try, you've got a problem in which you've got risk of theft and you've got risk of loss. And with Bitcoin, it's really high. And with any cryptocurrency.
Right, any cryptocurrency. That's the problem. Mm-hmm. Now, how does CloudCoin compare to that, security-wise?
Sure. So to begin with, there's no accounts. So human beings don't need to have accounts. This makes it so that nobody has to log in. There's no password to lose. All the money basically has passwords. All the money basically has accounts. And you can take the money and you can store it in different locations. You can put some of it in your email and some of it on your computer and some of it here and there. And that helps you to diversify your risk, so that if you were to lose some, you wouldn't lose all of it.
So you can
and there's no way.
So anywhere in the cloud, you can store it, is what you're saying?
Yeah, we actually have it so that we can store it in our mind. And the problem, would then be, well, what about loss? Because you're going to be concerned about loss. But we've created a system in which you cannot permanently lose your cloud coins. So if you actually do lose it, you can file a lost coin report and get it back in 2 years if it hasn't been spent.
Now,
and so now you don't. Yeah, I was just going to say, you don't have to worry about loss anymore. That means you can just worry about theft 100%.
One of the first things that comes to mind, like I store, and listen, my cybersecurity expert friend cringes when I say this, and actually other friends of mine. But I store a lot of things in Google Drive. I know how bad that is security-wise. I know. I know. So, but there's also inherent rights information there. Like if someone were to decide to store it in their Dropbox, could there be a conflict there with Dropbox saying, well, that's actually ours because it's there? Like, could that be somewhere in that little agreement that we click by when we don't actually read that belongs to them?
Absolutely.
If it's stored there? You know what I mean?
What could happen is that one of the Dropbox employees could just be looking through some data and notice that, and then just write it down, and then they've got your 4 million bitcoins. And so that's a highly dangerous thing. There's something called securesafe.com, which is a server in Switzerland. I recommend people store it there if they're going to do cloud-based storage because it's much more secure. We've actually created something called rated data, and it takes data and shreds it and spreads it out all over the world. So if anybody was to get one server or even 10 servers, they wouldn't be able to put the data together.
Oh, my goodness. See that? Yeah, that, Google, it's kind of fun. Listen, I love Google. Google don't do anything to my accounts. And by love, I mean I'm addicted to. But it's just kind of like, it's just kind of funny from a technology perspective, how companies like that, their motto is don't be evil. And, from a business and technology perspective, they're kind of evil.
That's right. I mean, there's a big problem with that because they actually could be hacked by the Chinese government. And so the Chinese government gets your keys and they don't care about Google's reputation. They're going to use them to steal your money.
I actually, you know what? I'm going to have to go back and read. During my master's, I actually did a report on that very thing. Google's relationship with the government of China. And that whole situation. And that was, years ago now. But, it's funny you mention that because, they're communists. So they're not really into the whole, your money is your money type situation. That's not how they do things in China.
And Google's already shown itself that they don't really care about human rights or liberty, but they're going to cave as soon as their profits are, come into question. So we can't trust them with our data, certainly.
Oh, oy vey. Okay, so tell me. I thought I had a headache when I left school today. Now I have another headache. Now, the cloud currency as opposed to cryptocurrency, can the cloud currency be affected by EMPs? Can it?
So the way that our setup is, we can be nuked and we still survive. So we don't have any systematic risk. We've got locations all over the world, different hardware, different people that run the servers, independent operators, different operating systems, different software. So if there was any one event to happen, unless the whole world is destroyed or something, our currency is going to keep going.
So if North Korea sent an electronic signal to fry our, components and our electrical grid, cloud currency would go unaffected by that.
That's right. So as long as you get, as long as you have internet access, because it's a digital currency, you have to have internet. As long as you have internet, yes, it'll still work.
But of course, if there's no electricity, well, see, that's the funny thing about
problems.
Well, I was going to say if there's no electricity, there's no internet, but that's not really true. That just means there's no internet access.
Well, we had a war with Saddam Hussein, and I was actually a veteran back during Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and we just could not bring down his internet because it's a mesh topology and it's built to survive wars.
Wow.
That's what it's for.
Wow. And thank you for your service. That's incredible.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for being willing to do that. God bless you. Okay. All right. So now you've opened up a whole. Okay. So tell us about the book. So we've explored, and I hope everybody has been able to follow the cryptocurrency versus the cloud coin currency, which is like a breakthrough new type of digital currency. And is that what the book focuses on?
So the book focuses on that, as well as the possible futures of digital currencies. We talk about something called blockchain socialism, and that's something that actually they're doing right now in Venezuela. Venezuelan government has created a blockchain. This blockchain tracks every transaction that the people do. They're assigning their people account numbers on it, and they can basically take money from somebody, redistribute that wealth to somebody else. They can control everything and see who's doing what. And this is not a good thing, because they can create socialism, which disincentivizes everybody. It brings the economy down. But the alternative to that is a currency like Cloudcoin, which is 100% private. You don't have to sign up for anything. And that creates a currency in which you can do things without anybody knowing it. You can buy and sell all over the world without any banking fees, without any tariffs, without any taxes. And that's going to really change things, because the government's not going to be able to get its piece of the action.
And the U.S. government, I heard like one reporter asked a question like maybe 3 weeks ago about Bitcoin, and like basically when was the government going to start regulating it? And I was just like yelling at the TV, like, shut up. Yeah. Like, shush. Do you think that's a possibility with Cloudcoin?
So the whole system is, based on fighting that, making that impossible. Because if that happens, there's no point to it.
Exactly.
And so, like, with PayPal, they started out, they're libertarians, they wanted to create a free society, and they did create, a lot of trade between countries that wouldn't be possible otherwise.
Absolutely.
And so, but they have been regulated by the government so much, because they've got a center, they've got offices, that they just don't do that mission anymore, and they can be quite, let's say, authoritarian.
They ruin everything, the bureaucrats.
Mm-hmm. But anybody that's interested in that tax money is not going to like digital currency, and the banks hate it, by the way. Visa hates it.
Of course.
PayPal hates it.
Of course, they can't make money off of it, so of course they hate it.
That's right, and the way that I see it, and this is in the book too, is that there's not going to be any banks in the future. There's not going to be any tellers or vaults or parking lots or ATMs, because we can all have banks on our computers and our cell phones.
Exactly.
It can change everything.
Exactly. Yeah. It really could change everything. Thank you so much for being on the show today. You have just completely thrown another wrench into the digital currency discussion, and I appreciate it so much, and I hope you'll come back.
I sure will. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Sean. That is, this is, where can we pick up the book? I forgot, like, the most important thing. Where can we get the book before I let you go?
Sure. DigitalFrontierNews.com. You sign up for the newsletter, you get it for free. That's DigitalFrontierNews.com, and you get 5 free cloud coins. Try them out.
Nice. Okay. Excellent. I'm going to make sure I put that in the podcast before I post it. Thank you so much for being on the show, and please do come back. This is Sean Worthington. I just want to make sure I got that right. Author of the book Beyond Bitcoin, The Future of Digital Currency, and also lead scientist at Cloudcoin Global. Thank you so much. I want to thank everybody for listening in SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio Land, and all you guys on Facey. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember, all of this is very important, because after all, it is your money.